Hello and welcome to a new episode on What Does This Data Say? I'm Ajay Prakash. Imagine two men shouting at each other on a crowded street. One throws a punch, the other threatens to burn his house. The police separate them, but neither stops. Each keeps shouting louder than before, not to win the fight, but to prove to the crowd that he did not back down. That, my friends, is how India and Pakistan talk to each other today. Their words have stopped sounding like statesmen, they sound like street brawlers. Both claim victory, both feed the crowd, and the crowd is the public that cheers for whoever shouts the loudest. But there's one key difference. One of these shouting men isn't a thug or a general. He is the elected Prime Minister of a democracy, a man who represents a billion plus citizens. And that raises a question worth asking. Why does our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji feel compelled to respond to Pakistan at their level? Why must he enter the gutter fight of rhetoric and in the process demean the very office he occupies? In May 2025, India launched Operation Sindoor, a brief but bold tri-services strike on terror infrastructure in Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The operation lasted barely 3 days, surgical, swift, and coordinated. For a moment, it seemed India had made its point. But what followed was not silence, it was noise, and rather deafening noise. From Pakistan's side came the defiance. Army Chief Asim Munir thundered, "We will never be intimidated. We shall respond decisively, even to a minor provocation." He even warned of catastrophic consequences in a nuclearized environment. Their defense minister Khwaja Asif went even further, declaring that war with India was real and that Pakistan would achieve a better result than before. India, of course, responded in kind. Defense Minister Rajnath Singh warned that every inch of Pakistan lies within the BrahMos range. Operation Sindoor was just a trailer. And then Prime Minister Modi, aboard INS Vikrant during Diwali celebrations, proclaimed the fear instilled by the Indian Navy, the skill of the Air Force, and the bravery of the Army compelled Pakistan to surrender swiftly. That one line, Pakistan surrendered swiftly, shifted the conversation from fact to fiction, from strategy to spectacle. Why does a prime minister whose job is to lead, not perform, wade into this war of words? In part, it's signaling. A head of a government speaking directly signals that India's civilian and military leadership stand united and that the nation speaks with one voice. But more than strategy, it's about domestic optics. National security is the most potent currency in Indian politics. Every time Pakistan rattles its Chinese fighter jets, the government uses it to reinforce its image as India's ultimate protector. And for a politician whose brand is to build on decisive strength, silence becomes a weakness. Modi also understands the power of narrative control. If he doesn't tell a story, others will do that. Pakistan's generals, the opposition, or the media. By entering the arena, he dictates the headline. India acted, Pakistan surrendered. And finally, there's symbolism. Standing on a warship, wearing the navy cap, addressing soldiers at sea, it's not merely leadership, it's a theater. It's the visual of a warrior leader that television and social media can sell. But what of the truth? No evidence suggests Pakistan surrendered. Operation Sindoor ended in a ceasefire, not a capitulation. Pakistan continues to issue threats, hardly the posture of a defeated adversary. No independent observer, not even India's allies, confirmed any surrender. In short, the Prime Minister's statement is a political exaggeration, a crafted myth for the domestic audience. And that's where the problem begins. When politics demands exaggeration, truth becomes a casualty. When the Prime Minister of India adopts the tone of a field commander, three things happen. First, the line between civilian authority and military aggression blurs. A prime minister must set the strategy, not echo the soldiers' war cry. Second, such language shrinks diplomatic space. If you declare victory publicly, any later negotiation looks like surrender. Statesmanship demands ambiguity, grandstanding destroys it. And third, the more the Prime Minister engages in boastful rhetoric, the more ordinary his office appears. The position of the Prime Minister carries moral weight. It doesn't need bravado. As one analyst put it, when a Prime Minister lowers himself into a rhetorical gutter, he wins applause but loses altitude. Let's move from politics to psychology. Modi needs to respond is deeply rooted in image maintenance. His political persona rests on strength, on being the man who never blinks. Every confrontation, real or verbal, is an opportunity to prove that image once more. If Pakistan taunts him and he stays silent, that silence might look like fear. And fear for a strongman brand is fatal. So he speaks loudly, confidently, repeatedly, even when it is not necessary. He doesn't just respond as India's Prime Minister, he responds as the Narendra Modi brand. And that brand has been built on defiance from the Gujarat 2002 to Balakot 2019 and now to Operation Sindoor in 2025. The cycle of provocation and performance keeps both sides trapped. Each statement from Pakistan invites a counter statement from India, and each counter becomes part of the next campaign. It's politics as theatre, and theatre demands a leading man who never exits the stage. Silence, therefore, is impossible. But every time the Prime Minister takes the bait, the role of the statesman is replaced by that of a showman. Across the border, Pakistan's drama plays out on another stage altogether. General Asim Munir's confidence doesn't spring from national strength, it comes from external patronage. Ever since Donald Trump returned to Washington, his administration has quietly reopened security channels with Islamabad, a transactional move to regain leverage in South Asia. For Pakistan's general, this was oxygen. Munir and Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif started projecting themselves again as Washington's men in the region. Trump's brief attention revived their old swagger, allowing them to rattle their Chinese fighter jets, knowing they had an echo chamber in the West. But it's borrowed power, fragile and temporary. When Trump goes, they go. Their authority depends not on Pakistan's democracy but on foreign indulgence. Contrast that with India. Governments come and go, the army remains under civilian control, leadership here is elected, not imported. That is the strength of democratic continuity, something Pakistan has never managed to sustain. So while Modi survives on Trump's shadow, Modi, whatever his flaws, stands on the shoulders of India's voters. That's the crucial distinction, borrowed legitimacy versus earned legitimacy. And then comes China, the silent partner in Pakistan's insecurities. Recently, when a global defense report ranked India as the world's third largest air force, edging past China, Beijing couldn't contain its irritation. It called the report biased and politically motivated. That single objection revealed much more than statistics. It exposed how uncomfortable China has become with India's steady military rise, and because Pakistan's defense establishment is tethered to Beijing through the China Pakistan economic corridor, their insecurities now overlap. Whenever India advances in economy, technology, or military capability, both Beijing and Islamabad see their narratives weaken. China wants to be unrivaled Asian power, Pakistan wants to remain its loyal deputy. But India's rise challenges both hierarchy. So when Modi speaks of India's strength, China winces, Pakistan reacts. And the cycle of rhetoric starts all over again. Behind every loud Pakistani threat and every Chinese denial lies one common fear: a confident, democratic India. There is a myth at the heart of all this, the myth that loudness equals power. Real strength, whether military or moral, doesn't need an announcement. The most powerful nations project calm, their leaders don't shout, they decide. They don't perform victory, they sustain it. Each word may win applause for a day, but it chips away at the country's stature for years. In the end, it all boils down to one question: does India want a prime minister who commands respect through silence, or one who seeks validation through sound bites? There is a fine line between strength and swagger, between deterrence and delusion. Modi has perfected the art of the war speech. He knows how to command a crowd, how to make patriotism sound poetic, how to turn conflict into applause. But he hasn't yet mastered the art of the war pause, the statesman silence that says more than any slogan ever could. A prime minister doesn't have to shout to be powerful. The more he shouts, the smaller the office begins to feel. A statesman's silence can be louder than a soldier's war cry, but silence doesn't fetch votes, and that's why Modi must respond, even if, in doing so, he ends up demeaning himself. Thank you for watching. I'm Ajay Prakash.